A giant beast has returned from the depths, and now even seasoned hunters are just too scared to go near the water. After years of silence, the river is stirring again. In the early mornings along the banks of Burundi's Rusizi River, whispers have returned. Gustave is back. The giant Nile crocodile that once dominated this stretch of water has reappeared, and honestly, he's just as terrifying as the stories say. For over 2 decades, Gustave was a living legend. Over 20 feet long, weighing more than a ton, and covered in scars that look like battle trophies, he ruled the river like something out of a monster movie. Locals still remember the fear his name brought. Then, for a time, he vanished. No sightings, no signs, just silence. Some thought he'd finally died. But now, something massive is moving again in the reeds, and the marks it leaves behind are way too large to ignore. Recently, fishermen spotted a giant shape sliding through the shallows, larger than any normal croc. Mangled footprints the size of frying pans have appeared in the soft riverbanks. One man claimed he saw a beast with a torn jawline, and bullet scars on its back rise from the water before disappearing without a sound. No one laughed. Gustave isn't just big, he's unnaturally bold. Unlike most crocodiles that stick to the shadows, Gustave shows himself. He basks in the open, drifts close to boats, and seems to know when people are watching. That's part of what made him so infamous in the first place. He's not just a reptile, he's something more, something that acts with chilling purpose. Attempts to capture him over the years have failed in ways that feel personal. The steel-reinforced trap set for him? He ignored it like it was a toy. Tranquilizer darts couldn't pierce his armored skin. Entire documentary teams came up empty. Gustave moved like a ghost through their high-tech gear and camera traps, and now, with new reports emerging and the fear rising again, it feels like he's waking up after a long sleep. As if the river itself is reminding everyone who really owns it. It's not a man, it's not a machine, it's a reptile that refuses to be forgotten. If you think modern crocodiles are scary, Sarcosuchus will blow your mind. This prehistoric beast, often nicknamed Super Croc, ruled rivers around 110 million years ago and made today's Nile and saltwater crocodiles look tiny. Fossils show that Sarcosuchus could grow up to 40 feet long and weigh around 17,000 pounds. That's the size of a school bus, but with the jaws of a nightmare. Its skull alone stretched nearly 6 feet, lined with over 130 teeth built not just for fish, but for anything that wandered too close. Scientists believe Sarcosuchus was not just an ambush hunter like modern crocs. With its colossal size and strength, it likely battled massive dinosaurs at watering holes, dragging them under with terrifying ease. Its armor-like skin, tail built for sudden bursts of speed, and crushing bite force made it an apex predator, unlike anything alive today. The first real Sarcosuchus fossils were discovered in the Sahara Desert, a place that was once a lush prehistoric swamp. Finding its remains there was like uncovering the bones of a dragon. Imagine something that could take on a dinosaur and win. That's what this creature was built for. And just like movie monsters that never die, Sarcosuchus has inspired pop culture, making appearances in documentaries and even inspiring creatures in films like Jurassic Park. When paleontologists reconstructed its full skeleton, they realized modern crocodiles are just a shadow of what used to roam the planet. The thought of Sarcosuchus slipping silently beneath ancient waters is chilling. It's the kind of predator that could have made even the mighty T-Rex think twice before stepping too close to the riverbank. After the dinosaurs vanished, the world didn't suddenly become safe. In fact, a new monster emerged in the steaming rainforests of ancient South America, Titanoboa. This was not your ordinary snake. This serpent could reach over 40 feet in length and weigh more than 2,500 pounds, as heavy as a small car. To put that in perspective, Titanoboa was longer than a bus and thick enough to look like a living pipeline winding through the jungle. Discovered in a Colombian coal mine, Titanoboa fossils shocked scientists. They revealed a snake that lived in an age when the Earth was far hotter and wetter than today. Its size wasn't just for show, it was a perfect predator, capable of ambushing massive crocodiles, giant turtles, and anything else unlucky enough to cross its path. It would coil around its prey with bone-crushing strength, squeezing with a force strong enough to snap ribs and collapse lungs in seconds. What's even more terrifying is how silently such a creature could have moved. Like modern boas, Titanoboa probably spent much of its time lurking in shallow water, blending perfectly with its environment until it was too late for its prey. In today's world, nothing on land even comes close to this level of reptilian dominance. Titanoboa has become a pop culture icon, even inspiring fictional snakes in movies like Anaconda. But the truth is even more chilling than fiction. Knowing this snake was real, that something so massive once slithered through ancient swamps, is a reminder that Earth's history is full of creatures that would make us rethink our spot on the food chain. If Titanoboa were alive today, even the biggest anacondas would seem like harmless garden snakes. Long before humans arrived on the Australian continent, it was ruled by a monster straight out of a survival horror game. Megalania, a giant monitor lizard, could stretch over 20 feet long and weigh more than 1,000 pounds. It wasn't just Australia's top reptile predator, it was the continent's top predator, period. This creature was the prehistoric cousin of today's Komodo dragon, except honestly much, much bigger, faster, and deadlier. Megalania likely hunted massive marsupials like Diprotodon, a giant wombat-like creature, and could easily overpower them with its brute strength and crushing bite. There's strong evidence it had serrated teeth and possibly venom glands, just like modern varanids. That combination made it a reptile that didn't just chase its prey, it dominated it. Even more unsettling is the timeline. Megalania didn't vanish millions of years ago. Some researchers believe it may have still been around when the first Aboriginal Australians arrived. Ancient cave paintings in Australia depict large, dragon-like reptiles that don't match any known modern species. While these might be symbolic, others believe they could be faded memories of real encounters. The idea that people may have once crossed paths with Megalania adds a whole new level of awe and fear. This wasn't just a big lizard, it was a land predator that could stare a grown adult in the eyes. If it were alive today, it would make Jurassic Park's raptors look like lizards at a pet store. Even now, the Australian wilderness has its secrets. There are occasional reports of oversized monitor lizards moving through remote bushlands. Nothing confirmed, of course, but the legend of Megalania continues to creep just under the surface, and like the beast itself once did, waiting to strike. In 1957, a quiet stretch of the Norman River in Queensland, Australia, became the stage for one of the most jaw-dropping claims in reptile history. According to locals and the woman who supposedly shot it, a crocodile nicknamed Krys the Savannah King. This beast measured over 28 feet long. That's nearly the length of a telephone pole and far beyond any scientifically confirmed crocodile size to date. Krys was reportedly taken down by Polish-born hunter Krystyna Pawlowski, who said the crocodile had been stalking livestock and terrifying nearby communities. When the body was measured, jaws hit the ground. No crocodile before or since has reached that length, at least not on record. A life-size replica of the croc still stands in the town of Normanton today, attracting tourists and raising eyebrows. But here's where things get complicated. There are no photographs of the actual event, and the original skull or body were never preserved. That's led some to believe the story was exaggerated or mistaken. Still, multiple people from the time backed up the story, and the legend stuck. Could there have been a truly monstrous croc hiding in Australia's northern rivers that simply never got studied? It's not impossible. The region is still one of the wildest in the world. Even if the exact size remains debated, what makes Krys unforgettable is the idea that such giants might still be out there, hidden in the remote swamps of Queensland. Australia has a way of keeping secrets. And if a 28-foot saltwater croc once existed, it could happen again. Krys the Savannah King sits right at the edge of legend and reality. A reptilian mystery that continues to challenge what we think is possible, and if the story is true, it wasn't just the biggest crocodile ever seen. It was the king of all reptiles. Forget everything you think you know about crocodiles. Now picture one that didn't lurk in swamps but walked on dry land, on long legs with a skull built like a predator from Jurassic Park. That was Sarcosuchus, a 6-meter-long terror from prehistoric South America. It wasn't a true crocodile by modern standards, but a member of a terrifying extinct group called cebichids. And unlike today's ambush-hunting reptiles, this beast chased down its prey like a land predator. Sarcosuchus stood nearly 7 feet tall at the hip and had a deep, narrow skull filled with dagger-like teeth. Unlike flat-snouted crocs that clamp and drown, Sarcosuchus was designed to bite, rip, and keep biting. Scientists believe it roamed the forests and plains in search of large mammals, moving more like a pack-hunting carnivore than a sluggish reptile. It's often compared to wolves or big cats in how it might have behaved, except it was a cold-blooded nightmare. Fossils found in Venezuela show a predator adapted to dominate an entirely different world than swamps and rivers. Its legs were positioned beneath its body, not sprawled to the sides like modern crocodiles, giving it speed and mobility. Its jaws weren't just strong, they were precise. This wasn't a brute waiting in the mud. This was a tactical killer that knew how to chase. And the most haunting part? It wasn't alone. Sarcosuchus was one of several land-walking croc relatives that ruled South America before big cats arrived. These reptiles blurred the line between lizard and lion, reptiles that moved like mammals but struck like monsters. In terms of horror movie potential, Sarcosuchus might be one of the most underrated predators in prehistoric history. A land-crawling, sprinting, slicing croc with no fear of the water. It didn't wait for food to come to it, it ran it down. On a few isolated islands in Indonesia, one of Earth's last real dragons still walks. The Komodo dragon doesn't breathe fire, but honestly, it doesn't need to. With serrated teeth, venomous glands, and the strength to take down animals 10 times its size, it's as close as we come today to a living, breathing monster. Adults can grow over 10 feet long and weigh around 150 to 200 pounds. And, they don't just look dangerous, they are. The Komodo dragon has a hunting style straight from a nightmare. It sneaks up with shocking speed, lunges with its jaws, and delivers a venom-loaded bite. That venom doesn't kill instantly, but it causes blood pressure to drop and prevents clotting, meaning whatever's been bitten is going down soon. Then the dragon follows its victim at a slow, steady pace until it collapses. This patient, lethal behavior is one of the reasons Komodos are such efficient hunters. They've taken out buffalo, wild boar, and even large deer with this cold, calculated method. They're also scavengers and cannibals. Nothing is wasted. Hatchlings climb trees immediately after birth just to avoid being eaten by their own kind. As young dragons mature, they become bold and territorial. A fully grown Komodo doesn't back down from much, and, honestly, few animals on the islands dare to challenge them. The Komodo dragon also has the unsettling ability to eat up to 80% of its body weight in one sitting. That's like a person eating 120 burgers in one meal. Its stomach expands, bones are crushed in seconds, and it gulps everything down with terrifying ease. They've even inspired pop culture villains from kaiju movies to Game of Thrones. But these lizards aren't science fiction, they're ancient survivors, reptilian apex predators that somehow still exist in the modern world. On a planet full of shrinking species and disappearing giants, the Komodo dragon stands firm, real, powerful, and still hungry. If there's one crocodile from history that feels like it was designed to terrify dinosaurs, it's Sarcosuchus. The name literally means terrible crocodile, and it earned that title. This wasn't just another big croc, it was a super predator the size of a city bus, stretching up to 35 feet long and weighing nearly 10 tons. That's not slightly larger than modern crocodiles, that's in a completely different league. To a human standing next to it, Sarcosuchus would look like a tank covered in armor plates, with a skull bigger than most adult humans. Its head alone could stretch 5 feet long, packed with crushing teeth that were thick, rounded, and built more like sledgehammers than blades. These weren't meant for catching fish. They were designed to pulverize bones. Fossil evidence from the late Cretaceous period suggests Sarcosuchus preyed on dinosaurs that came too close to the water's edge. Bite marks matching its massive jaws have been found in hadrosaur bones. And when you consider the sheer size of this beast, the idea of it dragging a multi-ton dinosaur into the water doesn't sound exaggerated, it sounds completely plausible. Sarcosuchus didn't just rival other apex predators, it replaced them in certain environments. Where it ruled, even large carnivorous dinosaurs like tyrannosaurs had to be cautious. It was stealthy, deadly, and absurdly strong. Its tail was muscular enough to launch it out of the water in seconds, turning calm rivers into ambush zones. If it were alive today, standing beside it would feel like standing next to a moving boulder, one with teeth and a mind built for hunting. Modern saltwater crocodiles are giants by today's standards, but next to Sarcosuchus, they'd look like babies. Not every massive reptile is terrifying, but they're all impressive. The leatherback sea turtle is a gentle ocean giant that still swims through our seas today. It holds the title of the largest living turtle, with adults regularly reaching lengths of over 7 feet and weighing up to 2,000 pounds. That's heavier than a grizzly bear, and this turtle swims. Unlike its hard-shelled cousins, the leatherback's back is covered in a thick, leathery skin with ridged lines, giving it an almost prehistoric look. In fact, leatherbacks have barely changed in the past 100 million years. They're living relics from a time when reptiles ruled both land and sea. What makes this turtle so incredible isn't just its size, it's how far it travels. Leatherbacks migrate thousands of miles across the open ocean, diving to depths of over 4,000 feet in search of jellyfish, their main food. They're perfectly adapted for deep dives with flexible shells and lungs that compress without injury. Few animals, even fish, can match them in these extreme conditions. And despite their bulk, leatherbacks move through the water with grace. Their front flippers can grow as long as human arms and generate powerful strokes that push them across vast ocean currents. These turtles are so strong and hydrodynamic that they've been tracked swimming from Indonesia to the US, West Coast and back again. Seeing a leatherback up close is unforgettable. It's not just the size, it's the calm, almost ancient presence they carry. They've outlived the dinosaurs, survived climate shifts, and crossed oceans longer than humans have existed. And they're still doing it today, one of the last giants we can see, alive and moving in the wild. In the rain-drenched jungles and river systems of ancient South America, a monster once ruled the waters, Purosaurus. This prehistoric caiman was one of the largest crocodilians to ever live, a reptilian juggernaut, stretching over 40 feet long and weighing an estimated 18,000 pounds. That's double the size of a modern saltwater crocodile. To anything else in its ecosystem, Purosaurus wasn't just a predator, it was the boss. Its skull, more than 5 feet long, was built for sheer crushing power. Paleontologists estimate its bite force could exceed 15,000 pounds, enough to snap bones like twigs and shatter massive prey with one chomp. Fossil studies suggest it preyed on giant turtles, massive fish, and even ancient mammals like ground sloths and early ungulates that came too close to the water. But Purosaurus wasn't some slow, sluggish beast. Its body was shaped for control. With a massive tail and deep-set eyes, it could sit perfectly still for hours, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Then, like a living battering ram, it would explode forward, jaws first. What makes this creature even more mind-blowing is how recently it lived, around 8 million years ago. That's practically yesterday in evolutionary terms. It shared its world with animals that looked surprisingly modern. So, while dinosaurs were long gone, Purosaurus was a reminder that the age of monsters wasn't quite over. Its fossils have been found across the Amazon basin, especially in Peru and Brazil, where ancient riverbeds once provided the perfect hunting grounds. If it existed today, no riverbank would be safe. Even boats might think twice about drifting into its territory. Purosaurus wasn't just one of the largest reptiles ever. It was a precision-built machine for domination, proof that in nature, size, strength, and patience can create a predator so perfect, it becomes the legend of its time. Deep beneath the prehistoric waves, there was a predator so terrifying that it redefined ocean dominance. Meet Mosasaurus, a marine reptile that ruled the late Cretaceous seas with brutal efficiency. Stretching over 50 feet long and armed with double-hinged jaws packed with rows of sharp, backward-curving teeth, Mosasaurus wasn't just a swimmer, it was a torpedo with a bite. Unlike dinosaurs, which roamed the land, Mosasaurus was part of a different evolutionary branch, more closely related to modern snakes and monitor lizards. But don't let that fool you. This was a high-speed, deep-diving apex predator that could snatch flying pterosaurs out of the air and chase down sharks underwater. Its long tail, fin-like limbs, and streamlined body made it a swift ambusher, capable of overtaking anything unlucky enough to be in its path. Its jaw and skull could open wide like a snake's, allowing it to swallow enormous prey whole. And it didn't hunt alone. Fossilized stomach contents reveal that Mosasaurus fed on fish, ammonites, smaller marine reptiles, and even other mosasaurs. Thanks to its terrifying design and monstrous proportions, Mosasaurus found its way into pop culture, most famously bursting onto the screen in Jurassic World, where it leaped out of the water and swallowed a great white shark like an appetizer. But in reality, this wasn't far off. In its time, Mosasaurus was the undisputed king of the ocean. What's wild is that these creatures lived just before the mass extinction that ended the age of dinosaurs. Until that moment, Mosasaurus had no rival. Its fossils have been found across Europe, North America, and even Antarctica, proving it dominated every corner of the ancient seas. Long before whales evolved, the oceans had another giant Shawnosaurus. It looked a bit like a modern dolphin from far away, but that illusion vanished the second you realized its size. At up to 70 feet long, this ichthyosaur was longer than a semi-truck and likely weighed over 30 tons. It was one of the largest marine reptiles to ever exist. Shawnosaurus wasn't a predator in the traditional sense. It didn't have the bone-crushing teeth of a Mosasaurus or the ambush style of a crocodilian. Instead, it likely fed on soft-bodied creatures, squid, fish, and possibly jellyfish, using suction rather than force. It was more like a gentle filter feeder, but don't let that downplay its dominance. When you're that size, just moving through the ocean clears a path. What's even more fascinating is where it lived. Fossils of Shawnosaurus were found high in the Nevada desert, an area that used to be covered by a shallow sea millions of years ago. The discovery site, now a protected park, revealed dozens of individuals, hinting that these giants might have traveled in groups, migrating across the globe like modern whales. Its massive paddle-like flippers and narrow head gave it a sleek, futuristic look. It was fast, efficient, and completely built for life in the open ocean. And while it may not have been the most aggressive reptile in the sea, it didn't need to be. Its size alone meant there were few things, if any, that would dare challenge it. Shawnosaurus was a true leviathan, a reminder that long before humans charted the oceans, nature had already built its own giants, elegant, massive, and completely alien by today's standards. The green anaconda isn't just big, it's a living powerhouse. Found deep in the Amazon, this snake can reach lengths of 30 feet and weigh over 500 pounds, making it the heaviest snake on the planet. It's pure muscle built for stealth and strength. Hidden in murky water, the anaconda waits. When a capybara or caiman gets close, it strikes in an instant, wrapping around its prey and squeezing with brutal force. No venom, just crushing power. It swallows its prey whole, sometimes taking hours to finish. After a big meal, it might not eat again for weeks. With eyes and nostrils set high on its head, it can stay almost completely submerged, practically invisible until it's too late. Despite its terrifying reputation, it avoids humans. But when locals catch a glimpse of one of the true giants, it's unforgettable a reminder that some monsters still swim silently beneath the surface. That's about it. Which reptile scared you the most? Write in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos.